morning, folks. Bea here from the Match Factory. This will be released early in January. It is just before Christmas, and I'm here at the shop, and I'm recording Tech Tuesday, and I'm getting started on my Fern Lake Blanket. So many people were interested in this kit when we brought them in that we have ordered and reordered multiple times, and there's a whole pile of us that are going to knit this all together, which is really fun. It's nice to have the support. I brought the iPad today so you can see the blanket in color because my printer's black and white these days. This is what it looks like. I am knitting mine in vintage, not in the Lannis that the kit was actually made in, simply because the vintage is machine washable. It's just going to make my life a little easier. But I'm replicating closely these colors. So I'm starting with this beautiful green in vintage. It's a nice washable blend. And we're going to get started. So the directions, it is a paid pattern, so I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but the directions start us off with a cast on of 215 stitches. I would like to use a long tail cast on just because I love it. I think it's a really nice cast on, but let me show you a cool trick. Get this out of the way, a little less visual distraction. It's a 4.5mm needle. I've got one of these Chigu lace with this beautiful soft cable. But this is a great cheat for a long tail cast on because it literally you need to pull out a long tail of your yarn, and normally you start with a slip knot, working the two ends together, the working yarn and your tail. But because it's 215 stitches and it's quite wide, that's hard to judge how much you need. So I've developed this cheat over the years. Take two yarns. We have two balls, so that's not a problem. Or you can work on the inside and the outside of your ball. And put a slip knot here between the two balls. Two strands together. It does create an extra two ends to sew in, but I think it's worth it. Then I'm going to put this slip knot on my needle. This does not count as a stitch. Then, let me just get everything sorted out. What I'm going to do is take those two strands and use them, one as though it was the long tail and one as though it's the working yarn. So I'm going to twist the tail with my thumb and go underneath, grab the yarn from my finger and pull it through, just like that. So there is another video on casting on with the long tail method, and you can go refer to that if you need a little bit more instruction on that. I'll be back when I have 215 stitches. Just cutting in here as I do my cast on. You do have a tendency to end up with a twisty yarn on the side that normally would be your long tail. The way I deal with that is just to sort of smooth it out a little bit. It lines the plies back up again, and then I can keep casting on. Keep going, we're almost there. We are 215 stitches all on there ready to go. Oh wait, yeah, that is correct. So what I am going to do first of all is I am going to cut what would be the long tail ball of yarn. So it's removed from the equation. I have one extra end to sew in there. Then you can do this when you do your knitting, or you can do it now. Whoops. You go back over to the other end. Should have slipped all these guys first. They're a little squished up. And I'm going to drop this slip knot that's right at the end. This is a little tight right now. I'm going to do it later. Okay. Don't let me forget. I have to drop that later. So our instructions are to knit one wrong side row, meaning we're working on our wrong side. So I put a couple stitch markers in while I was counting, just to make sure that I was in the right spot. So I'm going to knit my first row, which is the wrong side of my work. Take those out of the way, and I will be right back. All right, so I'm back. I have all my stitches, and I did stop in video, but something happened to the video, and I don't really want to go back. That slip knot that held my two stitches together at the beginning just drops off and disappears. It's not a stitch. It was just a way to hold your two ends together while you're working. And the goal being I can't tell you how many times with a long tail cast on with hundreds of stitches, I've been almost all the way through and you run out of that long tail. So years ago, I started with that cheat and it just works. So our row 1 is the right side of the work. And I have put a stitch marker on the surface of my work, not between the stitches, but on the surface to mark the right side of my work near the beginning of the row. And I'm going to move that along as I go. The idea is that this fabric is pretty reversible. It's a little difficult sometimes to tell where you're at. So all of our odd numbered rows are worked on the right side, and this is going to help me keep track of where I am. So then the pattern is to knit 1, slip 1 with yarn and back. So we're going to, when you slip 1, you put your needle tips together as if to purl. You don't want to put it in like as if to knit because that twists your stitch. So all of your slips happen like that. Needle tip to needle tip, it just moves over and you don't work it. With yarn and back means my working yarn's back here. So it just slips across. This stitch comes over and knits the next stitch. And it just is laying behind that stitch. Slip 1, knit 1. So it's slip 1 with yarn and back, knit 1. Slip 1, knit 1. And you just keep doing that. And you can see how you're going to hit just a really nice rhythm. And this is what gives it that lovely bumpy texture. Okay, so that's row 1. I'll be right back to help you out with row 2, and then you're off to the races. All right, friends, here we are. I'm at the end of my first row, and I'm on the back of my work. Our instructions are telling us to knit 1, slip 1 with yarn in front. So we're going to knit 1. But okay, slow down. We're working on the wrong side row. So the wrong side of our blanket is facing us right now. Remember I put that marker over here at the beginning on the right side? So with yarn in front is towards you, which in this case is on the wrong side of the work. That can be confusing for some people. Then we're going to slip 1, then we're going to bring our yarn back around and we're going to knit 1. Bring the yarn to the front of your work, not the right side, the front that is facing you. Slip your stitch, knit 1. All right, yarn in front, slip the stitch, knit 1. And you're going to keep doing that, and it's going to create this fabulous kind of bumpy looking texture. So you just keep doing that. Follow your instructions. They come in different assortments. I don't want to give away the whole paid pattern, but this is essentially what you need to do to knit the Fern Lake Blanket. We're all going to be knitting it together in 2021, and it's a pretty relaxed knit along. There's no dates, there's no deadlines, there's no nothing. However, to make it a little bit fun, everyone who comments or posts a picture, every time you comment or post a picture on a Fern Lake post, whether that's YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, you will be entered your name in a draw. And the draw will be something fabulous. But we're not going to decide that for a little while. Not another Fern Lake kid, don't worry. So leave us a comment. Tell us what you're doing. Have you got started? What are you working on? I don't know. What are you doing? What's your New Year's resolution, I guess? I don't like resolutions. They're hard to keep. Awesome, guys. Thanks for coming, and we'll see you in at the Match Factory. Bye.